You're listening to the Favorite Marriage Podcast, a place where you and your spouse can experience God's favor on your forever. Join us as we explore relevant topics and provide practical tools for your marriage toolbox. Here's this week's episode of The Favorite Marriage. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Favorite Marriage Podcast. We are your hosts, Monty and Jeannine Mora, and this podcast is for couples who want to take their marriage to the next level. And so we're glad you're tuning in to another episode. This episode is sponsored by Linear Roofing. You'll be hearing more about that later on in our podcast. But here we are. The holidays are upon us.
It is here.
The fun and festive times are now here.
Just days away.
Yeah. So at the time of this recording, we are in the week of Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And so we're going to be talking today on the topic of how to thrive, not just survive, but how to thrive during the holidays. And
Yes.
we really felt that was going to be important to share this with you today. So let's go, Jeannine.
All right. Well, we understand that we are a little late on posting a holiday podcast. Many of the podcasts out there, they've been posting since October, but we felt like it's never too late to give some helpful hints. And we're actually just going to dive right in
Mhm.
because we have a handful of things that we just want to talk about. And the first thing that is on our list to talk about is approaching this holiday season with gratitude. That's one way, Monty, that I believe that couples and families are going to get through the holiday hustle and bustle
Yeah.
by being grateful. And that is going to be something that's going to help you thrive and not just survive.
Right. Yeah. We're calling it practicing gratitude
Mm-hmm.
because we could just say be grateful, and that really doesn't do a whole lot. But when we say practice gratitude or
Right.
cultivate gratitude during this holiday season, it means we're being more intentional about what we're
Exactly.
doing
Yes.
during the holidays. And so there's a Bible verse that I think is very important that I wanted to share as we talk about this idea of practicing gratitude. And
Of
it's in
course.
1 Thessalonians 5, verse 18. And it says, "In everything give thanks. This is the will of God for you."
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, as we are in the holidays, Thanksgiving week, Christmas is approaching, that's everything. And so in everything,
Yeah.
we are commanded in scripture to give thanks. And so one of the ways that we can practice gratitude is just pondering and thinking about your spouse, obviously, the one
Mm-hmm.
that God has given to you, thinking about the family that you're going to be around, thinking about all the different celebrations, and thinking about all those special memories that we're going to build over the next few weeks.
Exactly.
Man, that is something to be grateful for just
It is.
as we are approaching the starting line of this thing.
Yeah. And a lot of times people might think that having an attitude of gratitude is so cliche, especially around Thanksgiving, right? We're
Yeah.
always telling our kids, our students, our coworkers, hey, have an attitude of gratitude, and it gets overused sometimes, and it just becomes just some words that are proper to say around Thanksgiving. What we're talking about today is the attitude of gratitude that stems from salvation, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes that's the only thing we can be grateful for. Some people might not have a whole lot to be grateful for on the outside,
Mm.
might be dealing with financial crisis, health crisis, and it's really, really hard for them to find that attitude of gratitude, being grateful for anything that they can see, hear, taste, or smell,
Mm.
but something that we can be grateful for that never will fade, that never will go away is our salvation, what Christ did for us
Mhm.
on the cross, knowing that despite what our holiday might look like, whether it's very festive and filled with family and friends, or if it's a very hard struggle, you're missing someone at the
Mhm.
table this
Mhm.
year, you're mourning, you're just you really are just having a very difficult time getting through. Be grateful for the one that we can be grateful for every day, and
Yeah.
that's our Savior Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. I know one of the things that you're really good at, and I think women tend to be better at this than men, is keeping like a gratitude journal during the holidays,
Mhm.
like just writing out things maybe on a daily basis, like what you're grateful for, especially as you're going into Thanksgiving next Thursday, getting that gratitude journal out and
Mhm.
just writing out. So one of them could be, I'm thankful for my relationship with God. I'm thankful for my spouse of
Yeah.
29 years. I'm thankful for our children, and just writing that out and keeping that journal. And then
Mhm.
even after the holidays are over, to go back to that journal and to ponder upon the things that you are grateful for during the holidays.
Yes.
um, another thing that another way we can practice gratitude is perhaps I'm going to talk about the Thanksgiving chair a
Sure.
little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this proverbial chair. It's called the Thanksgiving
Mhm.
chair. So it could be any chair you choose within your home. And let's say you're getting ready to head out for Thanksgiving Day to be with the family. You go sit in a chair for about 10 or 15 minutes and let
Mhm.
that chair be named your Thanksgiving chair.
Mhm.
And as you think upon your day in that chair, just begin to give thanks for 5 to 10 things that you're grateful for,
Yeah.
and just verbally name them. So we call that the Thanksgiving chair. And that
Yeah.
could be another way to practice gratitude.
Maybe even a Thanksgiving couch. You
Yeah.
can
Or
sit next to your spouse and bring your kids around. I mean, there's actual studies that show that when you're grateful, it does something in your mental state,
it
right?
does. Yeah.
An actual um, psychological movement towards positivity, and also just touches your heart to affect your attitude. It
Sure.
really is. I love the quote. I think it's from Ann Landers that says that worry refuses to share the heart with gratitude. So when we have a
Mm,
heart of gratitude, that worry dissipates.
mhm.
It really does. And as I'm a math teacher, there's this fun little inequality that says, when is 17 greater than 34? Do you know that?
I do,
You
because
do?
you told me.
Well, maybe
Why
they
don't you
don't.
share with our listeners why 17
Yeah.
is greater than 34?
So 17, the only time 17 is greater than 34 is when you smile, because it only takes 17 muscles to smile and 34 to frown.
Mm,
Isn't that cool?
yeah, that is so cool.
Now don't go fact check me, but I mean, I guess you can, but I've
Yeah.
heard that quite a few times. So
Yeah. That's a way to practice gratitude.
yeah,
Yeah, smiling more. Yeah,
smiling more. All
yeah.
right, Monty, let's move on because we
That's
got so much to
yeah,
share
yeah,
with
yeah.
them.
Let's talk about intentional conversations.
Yes.
And I know this was a really big one. So when we are having when we're with our family, well, let me just back up. We're going to be with our family, and some of us haven't been around our family for a long time,
Hmm.
or some of us it's just kind of commonplace because your family is close by.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we wanted to help our listeners with today is having intentional conversations and be specific in the type of conversations you want to have.
Hmm.
So for example, when you're with your family during the holidays, you might want to avoid talking about politics,
Oh, yes.
the previous election,
Yeah.
who
Just
won the election, who lost the election.
who
That
you voted
conversation,
for.
yeah, who you voted for. That
Don't let it in.
conversation is should be avoided and should be very intentional.
Uninvited.
Yeah, uninvited. Don't invite that conversation because that can really take the joy out of a room when you
Hmm.
start talking about the previous election and politics.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about, intentional conversations with your family.
Right. Right. And it can go bad real fast if you open the door to conversation that is also negative, talking about other relatives. Well, they didn't show up. Look what they brought. Like just comparison. Like there's these conversations that just quench immediately.
Yeah.
There's this just quenching that happens when you begin to talk in these certain tones in certain conversations. And so be very deliberate when you're sitting at the table with your family. Before you speak, think through what this conversation would look like with the people around your table.
Mm.
Because some people might not be able to handle conversation that you might want to talk about. They may very well take something wrong and, pivot to something that you didn't have any intention on talking about. Like
Yeah.
there's just some conversations some
Mhm.
people don't need to be a part of. And so being
Mhm.
very careful to look And who's at your table, who's sitting next to you in a chair, in the living room, in the kitchen, and really ask yourself, is this a conversation that is going to be a healthy conversation right now? Is it going to uplift? Is it going to encourage? If it's not, think of a different place that you can
Mm.
have that conversation.
Yeah.
You might be burning inside, like, oh, I've been waiting to tell cousin, um, I don't wanna name no names because somebody might have a cousin with a name, but your cousin or your uncle, your aunt. I've just been waiting to tell him this conversation. If it's not positive, it's not encouraging, it's not uplifting,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
then maybe choose a different time. Because the holidays should be a time where we're making memories
Sure.
and building memories that are
Yeah.
lasting for good reason, not for bad reason.
Yeah. And be prayerful about asking God how you can be the best at redirecting conversation,
Oh, that's so
because
good.
sometimes a family member might want to bring up a conversation that's not appropriate
Yeah.
from our perspective. And so pray, God, give me wisdom on how to redirect this conversation. And again, it goes back to how can we practice gratitude or say something
Mhm.
positive and to avoid maybe some negative talk,
Yeah.
as you're with the family.
Some really good practices you can do to help yourself prepare. I love that redirecting um, advice because I sometimes imagine having conversations with people, and I really do tend to like I have that Hollywood mind, right? Sometimes it just goes a way where like, wow, where did that come from? But then I kind of help myself and prepare myself.
Hmm.
It's kind of just like with an interview, or when you are gonna talk in, a public speaking,
Yeah,
like, you walk yourself through that, and then that'll help you with the redirection. It's
sure.
like, "What if someone says this? Because you know that, there's an elephant in the room, how do you redirect the elephant?
Mm,
How do you squash the elephant?"
yeah,
So
yeah,
practice.
yeah. Practice that. Yeah. Another one, another tip, another way to thrive through the holidays is to re-examine your traditions.
Mhm.
And this one here is more personal to us
Yeah,
this year than every other
this hit
year.
home.
So many times in our family, there are these traditions that we feel like we have to hold on to.
Mhm.
And we were just getting ready to decorate for Christmas. We have like a Thanksgiving, Christmas type of feel right now in our
Yeah,
home.
it's like they're
Um,
getting ready to merge.
yeah, yeah, to
And then
mer-
pass off, like, Thanksgiving's getting ready to pass the baton to Christmas right now.
yeah, yeah. And so normally, what we do for Christmas is we usually have, um, y'all. We usually have like three Christmas trees in our living room.
Yeah,
We
just in
usually,
our living
yeah.
room.
Then we have a Christmas tree in our loft. We have two Christmas trees downstairs in our basement. I mean, we have like one, two, three, four, five,
And one in our
six,
bedroom.
and seven Christmas trees. And so we are re-examining our tradition when it comes to decorating, and we kind of downsized this year a little bit. So let's
Yeah.
kind of talk about how they can re-examine their
Yeah. Well,
traditions.
there is a reason why we downsized. And here's what we want to talk about reexamining your traditions based off of the capacity of your heart and mind during the holiday
Mm,
season, because that changes. And like we said, we have experienced this personally this year. We have shared in previous podcasts some of the um, physical challenges that we have been facing, myself with some mental health issues that we're just learning to navigate. And you're so kind to suggest, why don't we leave the 3 trees down and just bring up our one very beautiful, um, Broadmoor thrift shop tree that was a wonderful find, it's gorgeous, and it doesn't even need to be put together, like, we literally just stored in the closet, and you were like, "Let's just bring that out and put it up," and I had to wrestle with that for a little
yeah.
while because, like, the tradition of the 3 trees, there's this beautiful story that goes along with it, but even more so, it represents our 3 children, and they each have a star that they put on the tree. Even in their adult years, they still come and they put the star on their tree whenever they come visit, and I just had a hard time letting go of that, but then I really had to just pay attention to what I really could handle right
Hmm.
now, and I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, let's just do it." And I'm so glad you talked me into that because I did not have to stress, about decorating 3 trees. It felt so good. and it looks beautiful.
Hmm.
And, who's to say it's not going to happen next year and we'll pull them
Yeah.
out next year, but listen to your body, listen to your mind and your heart and your spouse when they suggest things. Be open to different traditions or just laying down a tradition for a year.
Sure.
Because if the tradition is going to cause tension, then don't do the tradition. Let it go. That might be making the dozens and dozens of cookies that you normally do for your
Yeah.
neighbors and for everybody, and just talk to people. Let them know, like, I just couldn't do it this year. And here's the thing, do not um, let yourself feel guilty. Like, don't talk to yourself and be like, oh, they're going to miss this and they're going to, like, don't make yourself feel bad. Because you
Yeah.
can talk yourself into a corner and just make yourself feel really bad about not doing the traditions you normally do.
FOMO.
Fear of missing out. Oh my gosh. There
FOMO.
was, folks.
Yeah.
There's the FOMO that you really do. I mean, it's a real thing. Like you do
Yeah.
tend to be have that fear of missing out on something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. I like the word
12
that you
months.
used. I like the word you used earlier, and I think you said it, but I don't know if our listeners caught it. But I
Mhm.
want to say it again. When it comes to examining traditions and things,
Mhm.
capacity.
Yeah.
What capacity do you have within you, within your marriage, within your home, to do certain traditions? If you don't have the capacity, because every year can change. Some years you
Mhm.
have the capacity to go all out,
Oh, yeah.
gangbusters, and other years like this year, we're kind of scaling back a little bit
Mhm.
and we're doing what we are able to do based upon our capacity. And I think
Yeah.
that's an important word you
Yeah.
used there.
And stay away from that inner critic.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
No one's gonna miss out on it. They could go to the store. If you buy something at the store, you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Still good.
Yeah.
All right, we better move on. Balancing and managing time.
Hmm.
So we have another podcast on this that really goes in depth, but let's just share some of those key points maybe from
Sure.
previous podcasts. Balancing time, making sure that you're respecting your children, especially if they're grown, respecting your children's time and their new traditions that
Sure.
they're making. We have created new traditions based off of our family growing. Remember that you don't always have to have every event happen on the actual Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day. You can expand that week and add things in. For example, we do Thanksgiving with
Hmm.
most of my family on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We do an
Christmas party
Christmas
with my
party.
side a
Yep,
week before.
like a few days
Yeah.
before, and then we also do, like, yeah, we just spread it out and
We
we do
extend
another.
the holidays, what we talked about in our
Yeah,
previous episode. Yeah.
extend it. We just say, a day
Yeah.
is just a date.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be on that actual date. Make the day whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was great. And as parents, we have to learn. We don't have grandkids yet as of the time of this recording. We still waiting. But when those grandkids come and your kids begin to make their own transitions
Yeah.
into new
Yeah.
traditions. Those transitions are hard for
Yeah.
us, especially those mornings where you just want to be there to see the faces of your kids opening up presents, and it's an exciting time.
Mhm.
You just have to learn that it is a new transition, but
Sure.
here's the thing: if that is you, if you're finding yourself in that situation this year, do yourself a favor, give yourself the okay to make those new traditions with your family. But I'd also like to encourage you to not forget about grandpa, grandma, mom, and dad, because they are also getting older. They're not sure how many more Christmases they're going to have. So if you can, when you're making those new traditions with your family, make an alternative special day with your grandparents, with your parents, whoever you're transitioning that tradition out from,
Mhm.
So if you're used to doing a really big get together on Christmas morning and open presents, and you just want that intimate time with baby and husband and wife. That's beautiful. That's great. But also create something new, something that's not going to make your mom or dad or grandpa and grandma feel like they've been robbed, I guess, or make them feel like they're
Non
missing out.
non-prioritized maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're reprioritizing, which should be a good thing,
Mhm.
but also
Yeah.
keep them in the mix somehow.
Yeah.
Create something new and talk to them about it. What can this look like for you? What can we do? What would be special for you, mom and dad? What would be something we can do together, grandpa and grandma? Like
Yeah.
they'd be probably thrilled to talk to you about it and be a part of that new decision.
Yeah. That's a good point there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm also thinking, Janine, about during this time of the year, we're gonna get all kinds of invitations to go to parties and do
Mhm.
this and that. And I think as a married couple, as a family, it's important to pre-decide
Oh yeah.
where you're gonna go and what you're gonna commit your time to. Now, just realize and don't feel guilty about this. If you can't accommodate every party, if you can't go to every party and every celebration,
Mhm.
don't feel bad about that. Again, as a married couple, sit down, talk about, pre-decide, hey, we
Yes.
have seven parties, you
Oh
know,
Lord.
whatever we have, whether it's work or church or family
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be, but pre-decide which ones you're going to put the priority on and you're going to go to, and then also pre-decide which ones we're going to say no to and how to say no nicely,
Yeah.
right?
I have actually some good ways to say no. Um, I'm sorry, but I can't help you at this time. That's if you're getting asked to help plan the parties
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
put together parties. Unfortunately, I have several commitments at this time. Or you just might say, "Thank you for thinking about us, but
Mhm.
don't leave us out next year. We just are not able to make it this year."
Right.
Just
Count us in
redirecting. Yeah,
next year.
count
Yeah,
us in next year. This year we're a little overwhelmed, but there's so many ways to say we just can't this year.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
just find your own way and make sure you communicate ahead of time, and so it's not like at that moment you're like, "Okay, we're leaving," and then everybody's like, "Oh," say it with me, "Oh."
Oh, why are you leaving? You've only
Why?
been here for 7 hours.
You've only been here for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Because that just might be a reality with some families, and they
yeah,
just if the husband and wife come into agreement and they feel good about putting the kids in the car 5 different times and driving to 5 different houses, and they're in agreement and they're saying, "Yeah, we can do this," then great, do it.
yeah,
But if that's creating tension
mhm,
in the tradition,
yeah,
I think as husband and wife, you need to talk it over.
yeah, definitely talk about that.
Mhm.
Pre-decide that. Another pre-decision is, how much money are we gonna spend
Yeah,
during the holidays? We
that's
call
one
it we call it financial intimacy, right?
we just had
One
this
of the pillars.
conversation, it's so good. Yeah, it is important. Yeah, it is so important. Financial intimacy is something that can make or break at holiday season as
Mhm,
well. If you are spending more than your spouse wants you to spend,
yeah,
it comes back down just to being in agreement of how much we're gonna spend. It felt so good today to budget out our holiday
mhm,
and knowing that, hey, we set this for even just you and I, like, don't go spend more than this because what happened one year is that Monty just, I don't know, you just felt
I
so,
was overwhelmed with generosity
yeah,
for
he
Janine,
was.
where I just went and I bought her all kinds of
I
stuff,
got these gifts. I'm
and
like,
then I ended up getting a pair of slippers from her.
no, it
Just kidding.
wasn't. But it was a lot less. Like I just kept seeing gifts come around me and they're all from Monty and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And what happened is it started creating like this guilty feeling in me, which that shouldn't happen, right? But
Yeah,
what helps that is just saying, "Hey, this is our up for you and I. This is the max we're gonna spend.
on each
Don't
other,
go
yes.
over. You can go under, but don't go over." Because then we know what we have to budget. And then we do
Yeah,
that for the kids. We do that for
yeah,
mom and dad, just our family, our coworkers if we plan on spending for coworkers. And it was really good.
yeah,
I feel like let's go shop.
yeah. And if
Yeah.
possible, if you could, when you're planning your budget, if you could, not get in debt. Like the rule of thumb is if you're gonna put
100%.
stuff like on a credit card, make sure you can pay that thing off within 30 days because you don't want to prolong that debt. You're paying on Christmas gifts all the way in March and April and May,
Mhm.
so really you want to avoid debt as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to pre-decide whatever your budget's going to be. This is how much we're going to spend on all the gifts, all the different activities we're going to be a part of. This is our budget. And then we dice and slice each an amount for each of those
Mhm.
things for
Mhm.
each person that we're going to buy, and we're going to stick to the budget.
Mhm.
In this way, it avoids a lot of like, wow, how much money should we spend on the kids? How much money should we spend on this person? It's
Yeah.
already pre-decided, and say, well, we have it already this amount, and we're going to go with it, and
Mhm.
we're not going to get in debt. And that's what we don't want you to do: is don't get in debt by spending, spending, spending,
Yeah.
spending. Again, it's the word financial capacity,
Financial intimacy.
intimacy. Well,
That
like
has a
what
capacity.
yeah, but like what capacity financially do you have
Right.
to buy all these gifts? Do you have the bandwidth
I see.
financially to
Yeah.
do that? Yeah.
I
But it's
get.
financial intimacy is yeah, I
Oh,
see
yeah,
where you're going with
I
that.
see what you
I
mean.
see where you're going with that.
And if your capacity is really small this year, again, you guys don't put stress on yourself. Don't put tension in the traditions.
Yeah.
Communication. We keep saying communicate, communicate, communicate with your family. And they know, if you make a handmade gift, sometimes those are priceless, right? Those handmade gifts. You make something, food.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Mhm.
Communicate, and people, they should understand.
Yeah.
All right. Almost
And
done.
yeah, the other way to thrive during the holidays is we want to phrase it: observe your faith traditions. So for us, we are believers in God. We are faith based. We are Christians,
Mhm.
and one of the important things for us during the holidays is to observe our faith. Us to observe church, going to
Yes.
like, Christmas Eve services, Christmas services, special services, and even like celebrating Advent. I know we were talking about doing something
Yes.
like Advent with our children and our family, but faith becomes very important to us even now during the holidays. And make
Mhm.
sure, as a husband and wife, your family, if you all are faith based, make sure to plan some time where you can really dive into your faith, into your relationship
Yes.
with God, and really just savor the moment, especially during Christmas as we celebrate, the birth of Christ. That's a
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful time to really
It
reminisce
is.
and ponder about what
Yeah,
Christ did and in our faith.
absolutely. And we're also, I guess I would like to expand more on that,
Yeah.
Monty. Like, we're also wanting you to initiate bringing God's presence. Like, Jesus was the gift to earth, right? He was the ultimate gift. And as we think about buying presents, wrapping presents, thinking of his presence throughout the holiday
Mhm.
season, starting now and from Thanksgiving to the New Year, there's so many opportunities that we can exalt him in this
Mhm.
way. And I'm not, the whole baking Jesus a birthday cake on Christmas, it's cute, it's beautiful, it's a fun tradition. Going to Christmas Eve candlelight service, it's beautiful, it's great. It's a fun
Yeah.
tradition, right? But we're talking beyond those things. Weaving his presence within your holidays
Mm.
every day is
Mhm.
so important. We cannot forget that. And this is the most valuable thing that you can, if you're a new family, start in your family traditions. And even if you're older and you're like looking back on previous holiday seasons and you're like, wow, this didn't go so great. And last year, oh, you just want to forget about last year. Start fresh,
Yeah.
start new, create new traditions this year, no matter how old your family is, whether you're empty nesters or you
Mhm.
just have a brand new baby or you're in your elderly years and you just want to start new traditions. Giving, being generous, going out and serving, helping families.
Mhm.
But I like you said, Monty, starting like Advent, that is something that we value and we just really want to ask our the rest of our family to maybe join us this year, because now we are helping them to continually think about his presence
Mhm.
throughout the whole holiday season. And then just taking little things that you're doing. For example, our Thanksgiving get together that we call Thanksgiving with our family. We're doing that kintsugi with the Japanese art of taking something that's broken and mending it back together. And you're gonna do like this whole beautiful devotion on it. So just weaving Christ's
Mm-hmm.
presence throughout the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're saying. That's what's so important, and that's what's gonna help you thrive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, most importantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some good stuff.
Yep.
I want to add one more thing. Husband and wife, okay? This is a marriage podcast, and we
Mhm.
always want to help couples. Husband and wife, during the holidays, don't forget about your spouse, right?
Yeah.
Really, God first, spouse second.
Mhm.
And in the midst of all of the hustle and bustle and celebrations, don't let everything go by so fast where you forget to really relish the moment
Mhm.
and the relationship that you have with
Yeah.
your spouse, with your loved one. You know what I mean? Keep them
Yeah.
the priority during the holiday season. And I would say during the holiday season, as we're talking about taking care of each other and
Mhm.
noticing each other and loving
Yeah.
each other, is find little ways how we can give each other holiday treats, quote unquote.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to leave holiday treats to your sanctified imagination, however you want to interpret that. But no, in a serious way. Yeah. Think of really neat ways where you can just provide that holiday
Yeah, for
love
sure, yeah.
and appreciation towards your spouse during the
I
holiday
love that.
season. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna have some expectations this holiday season. Your treats. You said it. Y'all heard him say it.
I'm not giving it away. I am not giving
All right, well, we
anything
better
away.
wrap this up.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Haha, get
Yeah.
it? Wrap it up.
Yeah. And like we said, during the holiday season, man, make sure you roast the turkey and don't roast your in-laws, okay? As we said. Now, thanks for joining us for this episode. We
I hope
hope that
it
you have
helps.
a wonderful Thanksgiving. We pray that you have a wonderful
Yes.
Christmas. If you haven't had a chance to do so, please go on to any of our podcast platforms and review, like the podcast, and of course our YouTube channel. You can also follow us there. So have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. May you thrive in the holiday. And like always, we pray that you would experience God's favor
On your forever.
Thanks for listening to The Favorite Marriage, where you and your spouse can experience God's favor on your forever. If you enjoyed this resource, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time on The Favorite Marriage Podcast.